obviously,
Okay.
and I would bet my
Why not?
entire net worth on it. Hold on. It's so obvious. I don't know what to say.
It's so obvious. Explain it. That's why.
I can't. It's so obvious.
Okay, go for it.
3, 2, 1, go.
Only in dialectic, which does mean I listen to you and you listen to me.
There's a plan. I don't see a plan.
What terms you want to speak on. This is not about you.
I'm talking.
Out of my way now.
Radio Evergreen 1, send backup from county immediately.
You don't think this is a little bit f***ing insane?
This is like we definitely disagree on this part.
No, hold on. We don't disagree. I'm just not acting like a f***ing retard. I'm never gonna tell you. You're using the conservative argument of like, well, if there's racism, you gotta show me the law. I would never say something that f***ing stupid.
How you doing, Mr. Bennell II, my favorite mixed race person?
I'm doing great. How you doing, buddy?
Wonderful. Got off the phone with my little gammy earlier and was trying to explain to her what exactly I was doing last night. Like, how do you even begin to explain like a live stream to like someone who's 90?
90 years old. Holy shit. First of all, tell her congratulations. Hello? Oh, I guess Gammy got her.
You hear me?
Oh, hello.
I think I'm not close enough to like a mic. I actually have like a proper mic this time.
Nice job. Good one.
I had it since yesterday, but I couldn't bring it to the library where it was.
Oh, well, we're sorry about that.
So if you're Bennell II, does anybody actually call you Junior?
No, ironically enough, my dad really never wanted to be referred to as senior, so he called me the second instead of junior.
I think Destiny Jr. has like a nice ring to it, don't you think?
Well, Destiny's not my real name, so.
Steven Jr. too, though.
Steven Jr. too? Well, you'd be one or the other, right?
Well, whichever one that you went by, I think it would be a good choice.
Okay. Well, I'll consider it in the future if I want a name change, okay?
Siblings also watched the debate.
Who else watched the debate? You might cut out for a sec.
Do your...
Okay, the first part of what you're saying is cutting out a little bit. Try one more time.
Hold on. Okay, go for it. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Does your family watch your content at all?
Yep. My mom does. She loves
That's
me.
cute. Does she do debate reviews?
No. She hates my politics. She's very conservative.
Well, we know that. Just like
Are you playing basketball with your
reactionary
microphone, or
questions.
what is what's going on here?
Can't you hear me?
We can hear you, but it sounds like you're running your fingers all over the microphone. Why are you doing this?
I'm not, though.
You were touching it a lot.
How about now?
Okay. No, well, now you're not touching it, so now it sounds fine.
Oh, I am still touching it, but it sounds good.
Okay, is this like a handheld mic, or what do you...
No, it's my dad's Blue Yeti.
Okay, that's fine. Just set it down. Don't touch it. You're good to go.
The thing I'm worried about is like, I try to have the stream open just so I can see chat.
Big mistake.
What's wrong with your chat? Aren't you proud of your chat?
Well, yeah, but I mean, big mistake for you.
Why?
Well, if you're making bad points and the chat is railing on you, you're gonna spiral out of control. You're gonna lose control of yourself. Probably not the best thing in the world.
What points? This is just a conversation.
What? It's a debate. What do you mean? It's an argument. We have a disagreement that we're trying to resolve.
But you know how stubborn I am is resolving it. Point.
But stubbornness doesn't mean that you have to shut your brain off and not hear any argument. What do you mean?
No, but I explained this to my brother. I was saying that we had like a monopoly, a a brand new, beautiful Monopoly board game in front of us, and I'm sitting there trying to like read you the official rules, and you're there like, can you shut the fuck up and like, can we just play by the house rules? And you're like explaining the house rules, and I'm like, but the official rules say this. You're trying to get me to like see that, you know, we could stuff a bunch of like Monopoly money under free parking, or like we have to pass the board one time at least before somebody can get $200 or whatever.
That's not at all what happened, but if that's the analogy that you want to run with, then you know what? Go off, sis. Whatever makes you happy, okay?
No, I just say that because I think there's almost like a disagreement, or there is a disagreement over, I guess, like the descriptive facts of the matter.
Yes.
Then the more interesting conversation is the like normative things that would come out of it.
Not kind of, not really. The problem is a lot of these things are going to rest on the descriptive facts of what's actually happening. So like, for instance, if the conversation is, has wokeism gone too far in schools? And then I give examples and you're like, oh, well, we disagree on the descriptive facts. I mean, those descriptive facts are going to bear out whether or not I'm right or you're right, right?
Not descriptive facts, but I guess like even just like the analysis of descriptive facts of the matter is like completely subjective, right? Then from there,
Hold on, wait. What did you just say? What?
Like we can be reading the exact same paragraph, right? Like we're both referring to the exact same parts of, like, in this case, like the emails, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll both read the same thing.
Yep.
Right? Then you can come to different conclusions about the interpretations of those events.
If we're both reasonable in this case, I don't believe so.
What do you think is unreasonable?
So this is something that I would have never even imagined I had to have argued. So the day of absence was a day in which persons of color removed themselves from the college campus of Evergreen College. They wanted to do a reverse day of absence where white people left instead of black people. That's what the plan was. This is very simple. Literally not a single human being on the planet, besides you and President Sunday apparently, disagree with this fact. Nobody said otherwise ever. And now you're trying to grasp at these incredibly thin straws relating to what mixed race means to show that white people could remain on campus.
Oh, see, this is like, I think this is like the point of contention.
Yeah, but the thing is that like every single piece of evidence everywhere supports my side, and you have to grasp at unbelievably subjective and insane interpretations that not a single other human being on the planet, not that New York Times post, not the Washington Journal post, not the minutes of the meeting where Emily and Felix are, nobody else agrees with you. This is your own, I've never heard this interpretation before in my entire life.
No, I agreed with you that the entire controversy, and I haven't even like rewatched the VOD, so I might have either misspoken or like, seriously, I could have said something wrong, but like that is the point of contention. Brett Weinstein and all the people who were on campus, like they were going to be reversing it, right? So like white students would be encouraged to exit the campus and have their workshop off campus, and then students of color would be encouraged to stay on campus, right?
Yes.
What did I say in the debate that made you think I disagreed with that? I totally could have said something that did. If that's the point, or if that's the case, I'd walk it back.
No, we don't have to walk anything back. I don't care about like trying to really get past debate. But so today we agree that white students were asked to leave campus and black students were asked to remain on campus. We agree on that fact today? If we agree on that, it's fine. We don't have to redo everything yesterday, but
I guess, can I mean what when you say yeah, I agree with you.
yeah, okay.
No, because asked to leave, like I'm fine with that makes sense to me, right? If you're reversing it, you're by definition asking that population of students or whatever to go off campus. You're asking the black students to, and like students of color, to remain, right?
Yes. That is what I said yesterday.
My point of contention was that in the original debate, like the change my mind thing, you said forced.
Okay, if instead of forced, should I say professors required? Like, if I say forced, does that mean that it has to have been under, like, threat of violence? Or what does forced mean to you? Like, for instance...
I was going to ask you what forced means. You.
Okay, forced in my mind would be like a professor making it a requirement of a class.
Is that any more or less forced than any other part of a syllabus, though?
Nope, I guess not. Are there other
Because
parts
I
of the
see
syllabus
that,
that tell white
different-
students to leave campus? Because if there are, I would disagree with those parts of the syllabus.
Well, if the event was required as part of a class, right? Like it was in the minutes or the emails that you showed, where it said like Rashida has secured that like 17 professors, so over like 400 plus students, would be in attendance of this event for sure, because she got those professors to commit to saying, hey, your attendance at this and participation in this event is a grade, right?
Yep.
So you're forced to go to the event if you want to receive credit for your class and like get an A, right?
Or just to get credit for it or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, we don't disagree on that. If I'm a student in that class and I see on the syllabus like, oh, on Thursday I have to be in attendance for the day of absence. I want to get my participation grade for this class today. I go and I refer to the club or the group or Rashida Love's explanation of how the event was going to work, because I'm like, well, where do I report to? And if I'm a white student, I see that like, okay, right, or like majority culture slash mixed students, or I can't remember what it is, I have to pull up the emails, are being encouraged to have their workshop off campus, and the Black slash POC students are being encouraged to remain on campus. But it does have the caveat that you can go wherever you feel most comfortable.
But the wherever. Okay. Hold on, I'm setting a timer. We can only argue about this for 15 minutes, and then I can't do this thing anymore.
Oh, I know. I didn't know we were going to talk about this again.
The caveat of wherever you can feel most comfortable is not an invitation for white students to go to POC spaces. Do you understand that, or do you not understand that?
No, I don't understand how you're reaching that conclusion. Hello?
I'm at a loss for words. I actually don't know what to say. Have you ever been injured before in your life?
It's happened once or twice, yeah.
I can't think of an analogy. I can't think of a train of thought. I truly don't even know.
Oh, come on. You got a big brain. I think you can.
I actually can't. I can't even.
That's why I was saying it's more interesting to discuss the social pressures.
No. This, if you don't understand this though, either one, your understanding of like race relations, progressive space, all of it is so low that it's not worth having the conversation. Or two, you're so bad faith that you're gonna fight me on every single possible point, in which case, why would I even want to waste my time with the conversation?
No, it's not that I'm trying to fight you. Like, I saw this a lot in the subreddits that, like, she refused to concede any point, which is true because I'm stubborn as fuck, but also because I didn't want to, I just never want to give a concession where I don't feel like that's my honest opinion.
When people are saying you're not gonna, when people are saying you're not giving any point, they're not being like, oh, she needs to concede more. What they're saying is, it sounds like in the middle of the conversation I said 1 + 1 = 2, and you're like, no, not always, and you're like fighting on that. That's what it feels like. So when somebody gives the announcement, here, this is the announcement, okay? We are gonna have a day of absence. White students are encouraged to go to a church with only 200 spots available. You're encouraged to leave class, leave campus, don't come tomorrow because it's the day of absence. Now, for persons of color and for mixed people, for persons of color, you guys come on campus, and if you're a mixed race person, then you can sort yourself out in whatever way you feel comfortable. It is so unbelievably obvious to me that in that context, mixed person is referring to other types of people of color, perhaps somebody with one white parent. It's not referring to white people that want to stay on campus. That's so unimaginably obvious to me. If I were to poll 100 students about what that meant, 99 of them would agree with me. I don't even know what, but you're trying to say, well, mixed meant that the white kids could have gone anywhere, which entirely defeats your point of saying the day of absence was a day where white people were asked to leave. Because at that point, the day of absence is literally meaningless now. Anybody can go anywhere they want, which doesn't make any sense.
feel like I'm at the same loss for words that you're at. After Rage Pope just said I was talking shit about you on President Sunday's stream. I would love to see a clip of me talking shit. There was
you
multiple
were
times when
both
he tried to
talking, and there were
characterize-
times you were trying to characterize assassinate, but you both seemed to agree that I was coming at the conversation in bad faith. I watched a lot of it.
Definitely, I pushed back on him saying that he was in bad. That when he said that you were in bad faith, I definitely don't think you were in bad faith.
I'm almost positive I heard a clip of you saying as much. I think I listened to a lot of it last night.
That's what I'm saying. Like somebody can link the clip where I said, "Oh, Destiny, yeah, I agree. He was in bad faith." Love to see it because as far as I can remember, I never said that you were bad faith. I definitely don't think you were bad faith.
Okay, hold on. Do you think mixed race in this context means that white people are invited to join POC spaces, yes or no? I'm just curious what chat thinks.
%92% no.
Okay, the 8% are trolling.
See, that's what I mean. Is like I don't understand. Like I would love to hear from like one of the people who said in the 9% or whatever, because obviously I'm in the 9%.
They're trolling. That's like, it's.
No, come on, engage with it more. Like
I can't. I truly.
With you, I would love.
I can't engage on this point. I don't even know what to say. It's a day of absence that we've agreed where white people are being asked to leave college. I think we both agreed with that, right? Did we agree on those parts so far?
Yes.
So how would it make sense if mixed race white people were invited to stay on campus? How does it make sense?
Not trying. Oh shoot! I'm not trying to like break your brain, but do you mind if I pull up the emails?
If you really want to, go for it.
I do. Hold on. Let me find the part in the emails that say this.
This is just gaslighting? Is this just an attention grab? No, I don't think she's gaslighting. I think the problem is that she realizes that if she concedes on this point, then the event ends up looking really bad because you're literally telling white kids get the fuck off campus and black kids can stay. But if she wants to fight on this really weird mixed race point, then she can make it seem like the event was way more inclusive than it actually was when it clearly wasn't. But I think that's the reason why she has to fight on this point and she can't give it up.
This is on the third page of the emails. Because of the need for a dedicated space to explore issues of diversity within each of these two perspectives, each program has been designed with a specific community building objective in mind. And because many of us are mixed and may not wholly identify ourselves with one community or the other, we invite each person to attend the program of their choice, wherever they feel most comfortable. So on this point, you don't think that that is an invitation for like, white students to position themselves at either event that they choose?
No, obviously.
Okay.
And I would bet my
Why not?
entire net worth on it. Hold on. It's so obvious. I don't know what to say.
It's so obvious. Explain it. That's why.
I can't. It's so obvious. It's for mixed race people. It's because they don't want to commit to making one statement. And then somebody's like, I have a white mom and a Hispanic dad. I don't know if I should go. Or I've got a white father and a black mother. Maybe it's for those types of mixed race people. It's referring to mixed race people who don't feel like maybe they completely identify with one group or another. It's for an Obama to feel comfortable going to a POC space, not for a Bill Clinton to feel comfortable going to a POC space.
I agree with you. Have you ever? Do you know who Halsey is?
No. Is it like another streamer person? Halsey? Maybe. I might have heard of her.
I don't know. She's a singer. Halsey has like Google her. This woman.
I super don't care if you're about to give me some incredibly like one-off example of somebody that it's totally irrelevant to the point you're trying to make.
No, it's relevant.
It's
I promise.
super not relevant. Somebody like me is not if I was a student at Evergreen, the expectation would be that I'm leaving college. Period.
Make my point though.
Okay, talk to me about this mixed race person that looks like they could be one or another but identify as black. Take the 5 minutes to do it. Go for it. Knock yourself out. And then at the end, I'm going to say none of that matters and it doesn't. None of it affects what I just said. But go ahead.
Well, let me send you the photos on Discord.
I don't care about the photos. I super don't care. You can post it on chat if you want, though.
Okay. I told you. Which chat?
DGG, whatever chat you want.
Here, let me send it to you. Hold on. I told you I can't. I was having trouble signing into it.
Okay, send it on Discord.
Okay. That is Halsey.
Cool.
Right. The photo underneath is also Halsey. Cool. That's her with her like natural hair.
Okay.
And people were accusing her of like cultural appropriation, being racist when she had the just wearing her natural hair, which is like a black afro.
Mm-hmm.
She has, I think, a black father and like a white mother.
Cool.
Like a mixed race person like her. Like, where do you think that she would be welcome if she were to participate in the day of
If she's got the lived experience and if she presents as black enough, then maybe she'd go to the POC space.
Do you think in like the first picture that I'm showing you, like she's white passing? You agree?
Sure.
Right. That's my point. Like the example of like a mixed race person I think you brought up was someone who is like half Italian, half German, right? Or
white people.
like that.
Yes, somebody that's white.
Right. So you're saying that they're not free to orient themselves at either workshop in the way that as they see fit.
The orientation is probably going to match their lived experience or their presentation.
But the lived experience.
The majority of white people are still being asked to leave campus. That's why it's the reverse day of absence.
Yes, but I don't disagree with you on that.
Then what are we arguing over?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying I don't think we disagree on like the descriptive realities or whatever. We just disagree on like whether or not it's moral to have like an exercise like that on campus.
Okay, is it moral to ask white people to leave college for a day?
The like racial exercise that they were doing, no, I don't think so.
Okay, well I disagree, and so does Brett, and so did other students at the college campus.
Right. To me, what's the problem there?
The problem is that it feels bad when you're asking a racial group of people to leave a college campus.
Are you familiar with Parents Involved versus Seattle?
Nope.
It was a Supreme Court decision that made like race-based assignments of children to schools illegal.
Okay.
And I think the main like dissenting opinion was written by Chief Justice Roberts.
Okay.
And he opened it with like the way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discrimination on the basis of race.
Okay.
But to me, claiming that like a race-based policy to diversify schools is the exact same as like a racially exclusionary practice is something I disagree with.
Say that one more time.
Like Justice Roberts is essentially equivocating between these two things. Like he was claiming that like having a race conscious or a race-based policy, the effort of diversifying schools, which again it may or may not do, is the exact same as like a racist exclusionary practice.
It might not be the exact same, and that's fine if you disagree with it. It might not be the exact same, but it's probably like going to engender really negative feelings. It's probably almost always, unless it's done in an incredibly careful way, it's probably going to make a lot of people feel like shit. And it sounds like in this circumstance, that's exactly what it did.
Obviously, there was protests and like riots and stuff. Well, I don't know that there was riots, but I know that there was protests, and Brett Weinstein ended up leaving the campus, and so did Rashida Love, who was the coordinator of the program. I think I said yesterday that she was fired, but she wasn't fired. She did resign also.
Cool.
I don't know.
You don't know what?
No, I just don't find that as like contentious as you seem to think or whatever. Like I think there were
The
people
argument
who were
isn't
saying,
whether or not I find it contentious. I do. We can argue about that if you want. But the argument was whether or not it was fair for Brett to receive the pushback that he did because he found it contentious.
I mean, no, people are free to disagree with Brett. To me.
And I'm free to stand in the middle of the street and call you 17 racial slurs every single time I see you. Are we going to make an argument right now over what's allowed under the First Amendment? I'm probably not going to disagree.
No,
Is that what you want to argue about, or?
No, of course not. They're free to do that or whatever, and like.
That's
I
not.
don't
No
know,
one is
I guess
talking about
maybe
that.
it
No one is
comes
talking
off
about what
as,
you're
like-
free to do. It's about what we ought to be doing. That's the conversation. If you want to say what we're free to do,
That's what
oh,
I'm
let's.
saying,
But
like,
we can just both go and read the
normative
First
thing.
Amendment right now. It's like, oh, we agree, and then we're done with the conversation. I don't know what the point is of that conversation. What are you free to do?
I don't know, like in the first debate or whatever, you were saying that like on campus, you want to be able to find like your local fascist squad, right?
Sure.
And you'll also you're on like a lot of college campuses of like a lot of liberal students. Like you're going to also be able to find like progressive organizations. I think that there's lots of ways that these two types of groups, like a fascist or like a progressive group, could engage with each other. That I would just find like, I don't know, interesting. I'm not trying. I guess it comes off like I'm fence sitting or whatever. But I guess I can see both sides. Like I don't think
Both
anyone
sides to
is,
what?
like,
I'm not even sure what you're arguing for or against right now. Both sides of what?
Like there were people in the sub who were saying that I was like stupid and dumb if I saw how some people could find what the correspondence between Brett Weinstein and Rashida have some sort of racist implications.
Oh, there was absolutely none. In order to find there to be racist implications, your mind has to be rotted. I don't like, it came off as the most like non-aggressive, like friendly-ish attempt to diffuse a situation like possible.
That's where I'm saying we disagree, because I don't think like you're stupid or whatever for saying like I don't think Brett Weinstein is racist. I don't think anybody's stupid or whatever. It's just it's the degree to which how much charitability you're willing to grant to like Brett or Rashida in this case, right?
I'm not granting charitability to either side. I'm trying to use context clues and past and present actions up to that point to figure out like where the side stood. I don't like what where do you think I'm being charitable? What part is me being charitable? I don't think I'm being charitable to Brett. I'm just taking him at his word.
What's his word?
The words in the email.
Right. To me, like there was course like at least to me, I definitely can see how people would side eye it. It's something that I
Wait,
did,
what part?
Or, like, would do.
Yeah, you did because because wokeism has gone too far and you're living proof of it. That's why you're side eyeing it. But like, what were you reading that into? Like, how are you seeing it? Like, oh God, this is like bad intent.
The only requirement would be that people attend his public presentation and discussion of race through a scientific / evolutionary
Wait, hold on. You're already adding shit. He didn't say he was requiring this at all. He offered to give the lecture. He didn't even say he was going to do it.
Finish. He said, my only requirement would be that people attend with an open mind and a willingness to act in good faith.
Okay, that's fine. What's wrong with that?
You just disagree on like whether or not that's a strange caveat to add if you really don't have any sort of like you don't.
You're literally
think it's a
reading
neutral
like he's
forum.
doing a fucking phrenology presentation, and you're wondering why he's trying to caveat for insane progressives that might read negatively into the email. You are living proof of why he would add that caveat. What do you mean?
Exactly. You're saying if you're saying that you think I'm reaching by drawing a parallel, to like this discussion of race through a scientific / evolutionary lens, and a discussion of, instead of putting like the word phrenology, like you just put the definition. You say like you don't think most people would see it that way, right?
If your brain is rotted because wokeism has gone too far, then yes, they could see it that way. If
No,
you're
but do
a
you
rational,
think
no,
most
yes,
people
that's what I
see it
stand by.
that
I stand by
way?
that statement. You're not gonna be able to talk me out of that. If somebody makes that statement, you don't have enough there to read that they're like a racist phrenologist. You absolutely don't. There needs to be like a pre-required like level of brain rot to read that into that. That's insane.
I don't think Brett Weinstein is a racist.
No, you're saying that he's the implication that he's gonna teach race realism.
I know, but it's like I mean, I personally don't like to essentialize people as like, holy, you're racist, you're a transphobe, you are a homophobe. I think there's a lot of things that everybody does that has racist implications, or like they do racist shit, they do homophobic shit without meaning to.
Nothing through that seems like racist though. Well, I don't know where do you get the implication of racism?
If there was an interest in a public presentation discussion of race through a scientific/evolutionary lens, I would be quite willing to organize such an event. It is material I've taught in my own programs and guest lectured on at Evergreen and elsewhere. Everyone would be equally welcome and encouraged to attend such a forum, irrespective of ethnicity, belief structure, native language, political leanings, or position at the college. Like, to me at this point, like, that's fine, right?
Okay.
The only thing to me that's strange is not even, again, like, just discussions, like saying, oh, I'm going to discuss race through a scientific/evolutionary lens because it's possible to do so. The fact that he added the caveat of like, my only requirement would be that people attend with an open mind and a willingness to act in good faith. Like, why is he making the assumption that people...
Because if he wouldn't put that there, people like you would read that email and go, oh my God, he's probably like trying to do race realism. So it's like, listen, if you're gonna come, just come with an open mind and be ready to like engage with the material. Like you're the other side is you're saying, wow, he's putting that there because he knows he's about to present some highly contentious information. You're the one that's
like
reading.
You just said, it's not, he is going to present a controversial topic.
You don't know that? Why? He says he's literally lectured and given this opinions on this material before. Why would we assume that he's about to do...
Why else is he adding that caveat? He's saying that it's controversial, or like he's acknowledging that.
He's not saying it's controversial. He's just saying come with an open mind. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of contention around this day of absence, day of everything. He's trying to tread carefully.
Oh, I see. Okay, like that might be the disagreement then. Like you think that he is adding that caveat at the end, not because he believes that the subject that he's raising and going to discuss would be viewed as controversial. Like you think it's just given the like surrounding context of the entire event.
Yeah, no shit. They're literally asking white people to leave college campus. Of course there's potential to be a lot of animosity around the event.
And I actually do see your point. I guess I can't, to me, like, just wonder like where that caveat is coming from. Like, again, is he making the caveat of like, because it's a completely neutral statement for me to say, I would like to give a lecture on race realism. Like, so far, nobody has enough evidence to say whether I'm going to speak
Wait, no,
hold on.
Race realism, you're loading that so hard. Race realism is normatively loaded so much. Like, as soon as you hear that, you're thinking like evil race science.
I think pseudoscience.
Whatever you want to call it, but he's not talking about race realism. So why would you make the comparison to race realism?
Because again, I was like imparting or like onto that, given that he puts the caveat. That's what I'm saying. Like I project there may be some sort of controversy that he's attempting to imbue within the discussion that he's like, but people should have an open mind about it because even though it is contentious or whatever, like I can make a case to you that it really shouldn't be that contentious.
Okay, so then let's assign a probability. In my world, he's adding that caveat because he's worried about people like you immediately reading like some phrenology thing. In your world, he's adding that caveat because he's about to give a highly contentious presentation. What do you think is the likelihood that my interpretation is correct versus yours?
Can you restate it?
In my interpretation, he's just adding that because he knows that it's going to be like a heated, like heated environment because people want to do this day of absence and he's a white guy speaking up, blah, 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 right? So he's just adding it as like, just to be safe. But in your world, he's adding because he knows that the presentation he's going to give is really contentious. What do you think are the likelihood of mine being correct versus your being correct? Like if you were to assign a likelihood of like whose interpretation is probably more on the money for what Brett is intending.
I think he is making the caveat in the way that you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, then what's wrong with that caveat?
Because like you're saying, if people are already saying like, they already are like, they already think this guy's a racist, right?
For what?
Just literally for voicing opposition to it, right? That's all he said. He said like it started from there and it snowballed from there.
Okay, isn't that a problem?
I don't think that you're, yeah, exactly, maybe. it could be a problem or whatever.
Isn't that kind of like the thesis of
but
like,
I
has
have that-
wokeism gone too far? With like, that was the whole point I was trying to make.
Well, that's why I was so confused why you were like your brain is rotted if this or whatever, because I think it's one, it's so subjective, and two, it's like there's no like
Wait.
empirical way to
No, hold on,
discern it.
stop. I know you're a Voshvir, okay? You learned that word from me. We don't do that word here. You can't just say it's subjective to hand wave away every possible interpretation, okay? You said that you have your
No.
4-year degree.
The
I know you've taken an
confusion,
English
the
class.
confusion.
You can't just answer any question like, well, it's subjective and get an A on the paper, okay? You've got to support your arguments.
No. I'm not trying to escape like or like fence it or whatever. Or, like use like, oh, it's so subjective. Guess we can't tell. LOL. Or like know what you mean. That sounds, I guess, like fence city.
Okay, so what is subjective here? Wait, how old are you? Do you have 4 years? You finished your degree, right?
Yeah, I'm 23.
Okay, yeah. Jesus, sorry. My
Have
child's gaslighting me.
By
Okay.
the way, are you wait. This is a tangent. Are you 33 or are you 34?
33, does it matter? Is it that important?
It does. It's very important. Google says you're 34. Misinfo online about yourself. You should get on that. But like back to the point.
Yeah.
Oh, if anyone wants to know my credentials or whatever, I'm actually not even a UT grad. I'm a biology major. You're 34. Even though they're using a picture of you when you're 12.
What is happening? Born March? I don't know where this information comes from.
What's the citation? You put it or just like has your age?
It's in the About section of the Google. I don't know where it's scraping that info from. March 26th is my birthday? I don't know. Okay, sorry.
You better get on that. No, I'm not pre-med to somebody who asked that. That'd be cool though. I have my degree in biology. I didn't have a minor. I graduated from UTRGV. It's in the RGV, that's where I'm from.
Cool.
But all right, case in point. Or like, what was back to it?
Yeah.
Oh, what was the last question you asked?
I don't remember.
I don't either. And don't talk to Sunday, he's retarded. Talk to Mr. Girl.
Based.
Why would I talk to Mr. Girl when I want to see Destiny talk to Mr. Girl?
True. Okay, so where are we at right now? Do you think it was fair for people to be that triggered at Brett's response?
I'm gonna ask you this. Do you think it's fence city for me to think that like here's my like I guess personal brand of wokism or whatever, that I'm literally gonna do the like that's extremely heckin' valid ooh.
For what? Or in relation to what?
Like for people getting upset. Like
No, if you're getting upset here,
like,
then
people
you
can
are
be-
a snowflake and you need to fucking chill the fuck out. Okay, I can grab the space capsules. We can do this, guys.
sitting between brain rot and normal. No, I just can see how people would like the situation would escalate to the point that like no side is going to come to agreement on these things. Like it makes sense to me, or like I wasn't surprised when Brett Weinstein chose to take the settlement and just resign instead of keeping his position there, because it seems like just way too much pressure from faculty and students, or like too much of a contentious relationship for you to be able to continue working there as a professor.
Okay. What does that have to do with anything?
You were asking if I thought it was like
I was
if
asking
I'm
if it was
willing to
okay
say
for
that
Brett to get like that much animosity from the staff and the student body just for saying he was uncomfortable participating in the
the animosity. The thing is that like the school attempted to provide him with a security detail when he
What
was
does that have
confronted
to
with
do
the
with
students who
anything
were.
that I just said?
I'm about to explain if you let me finish.
Okay.
He was presented with, or they offered to have like, do you need a security detail? Like they sent him a security detail when he was confronting these students who were like protesting him or whatever, and he sent them away. Like, what do you think that signals if you send away a security detail? he's like safe,
That's
right?
not
That he's
relevant
making
to-
the assessment
that's
that he
not-
thinks he's safe.
That's nothing to do with what I'm talking about. We can go and look at the videos of the students outside of his classroom. My question is again, for the 5th time, I think, do you think that the level of animosity that he received was warranted for his emails?
What is the level of animosity though? Because I know about the emails. I have not watched like a Vice documentary. I've only ever heard like podcast discussions of it and like read the emails. That was it.
Okay, let's watch a video then. Hold on. There was a part of that one documentary I watched where you saw the students like outside of his classroom. Does anybody remember which part of the episode that was?
You've lost that one.
Or to
They think
including the disarming of campus police and mandatory sensitivity training for all faculty. No, of course.
You know,
And to publicly dissent
to
by what into that one students' demands, but there's a one
There's a video recording of like this actually happening. Oh, we actually have it. Thank you.
Debate. I'm interested.
Okay. Here, we can watch this. Let me know when you're ready to start this.
Nice. Okay, go for it.
3, 2, 1, go.
Only in dialectic, which does mean I listen to you and you listen to me.
Is it playing? I don't see it playing.
What terms you want to speak on? This is not about you.
I'm
We
talking.
are not speaking
all about him.
There it goes.
on terms of white privilege. This is not a discussion. You have lost that one.
I am talking about terms that serve the truth. Those are the terms. Listen, do you understand? History could pivot in this hallway right now. If oh my God! Listen to me. Yes, I know. History could pivot in the direction of the values that you are standing here for.
Yeah, resign.
What?
Resign.
I'm not resigning.
Okay.
If I owe an apology, I will deliver it.
Wait, hey. Ho ho! Brett Weinstein's got to go. Hey, hey! Ho ho! Brett Weinstein's got to go. Hey!
at one point they all kind of just left, and a couple of them were kind of like jumping and dancing around like it was it just seemed really bizarre, like a carnival type atmosphere, which was just really unsettling.
Oh, seriously?
You don't block me. Out of my way. Out of my way now.
Radio Evergreen 1, send backup from county immediately.
You don't think this is a little bit f***ing insane?
The reactions outside, yeah, I agree.
Okay, then what do we disagree about?
No, no, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so then you agree.
I
Well, then I guess
was
the thesis then if
mostly
wokeism
speaking
has gone too far, then you agree with all my topics.
No. Hold on. That's what I even told you this in the debate. I said, to be honest, I would agree with you that in all of the instances that you can bring up, there were actions that were too far or whatever. There was reactions that I don't agree with, that I thought people were just being bombastic or whatever. And not just bombastic, like, again, inappropriate measures were taken. There was a disproportionate response and like amount of vitriol that was directed at a professor, a student, or something, and it went too far.
Sure,
But
and
I
the
was
result,
just-
but the cause of that was wokeism, right?
Okay, but I felt like when you described wokeism, you gave a definition for like cancel culture.
Why did you just pivot so hard? We can call it
Because you
cancel
just
culture if
said
you
the
want, but yeah, it was the
definition
idea
of
that literally
wokeism.
canceling, saying that Brett Weinstein ought to resign because he disagrees with our progressive day of absence. We can use cancel culture if you want, sure.
Well, I think it's important to nail it down as one or the other, though, because if you're advancing the thesis, has wokeism gone too far? And you never said, like, has wokeism gone too far on college campuses? Because I feel like that is a completely different discussion than has wokeism gone too far? Because I'm assuming that when you say wokeism has gone too far, you're saying it's like a national epidemic that transcends just
stop.
the borders
You don't believe
of, like,
what you're saying.
college
You don't believe what
campuses.
you're saying. You don't believe what you're saying.
Not.
Okay? Stop. If this was your original position, then you wouldn't have just wasted all this time arguing with me about what happened on a college campus. But I think now you see, and you've conceded as much, that what happened on the college campus was absolutely unacceptable. 100%, and it was driven by wokeism. If you want to now expand the conversation to some other place, that's fine. But I need you to admit, yeah, in this particular case, this was an example of wokeism gone too far. It was cancel culture, the idea that Brett ought to be fired and that he was going to be protested as a result of protesting a event that would have asked white students to leave campus, which is an example of wokeism. All of this was wokeism gone too far. So you agree that in this case, that was a valid example?
That is what we don't disagree on that. I just said that it didn't meet that just one example of this thing. And this is where I messed up in the debate, is because I asked you I said, can you provide an example? But really what I meant to say and should have said was, can you provide me with evidence? But a single discrete example is not necessarily indicative of like a broader trend.
Okay, do you think that Donald Trump was a bad president for foreign policy?
Yes.
Can you show me a single study that proves that?
All I can show you is my disagreements with the foreign policy decisions that he enacted through his administration.
Okay, then I can show you the disagreements that I've had with a number of colleges and the support they've gotten publicly for the decisions that they've made regarding quote unquote wokeism or the super progressive orthodoxies that they push to the institutions.
Well, that's a different thing though, because if you're asking me if I can provide you with a study, again, I can provide you with data that would support my claim that it's bad.
And I can provide you with data that supports my claim, sure. What kind of data would you need to see?
An anecdote is not data. I would need to see examples of like
examples. Careful, you just said anecdotes don't count, so examples don't count. So don't use that word. What else would you need then? Since examples don't count.
Examples of policy. If you had let me finish, I was going to say examples of policy, because I can think of like there were Republican efforts, legislative efforts to.
We're not talking about legislation.
The discussion of. I know that, but that was why it's confusing to me, because if you think wokeism has gone too far.
Okay. Do you think that there's systemic racism in America?
Yes.
Can you give me one policy that does that?
Voter ID.
Can you show me where in voter ID it's racist?
I believe the majority opinion was that the black voters that were the parameters for why you needed to have a voter ID and the specific things that they were imposing upon prospective voters, the like guidelines and recommendations, I think literally the language within the dissent, or the majority, I can't remember, is that certain communities were targeted, quote, with surgical precision. And they were trying to decide like what
but there was no racist language in the targeting.
No, you can have racism without like racist. That's usually how like racism.
Oh, so can you have
racism?
So can you have racism without specific policies that are racist?
But I just gave you an example of a specific policy that is racist in effect. Yes.
So
because
then,
you have
when
there's
your point,
differences between an explicitly racist policy and then one that's racist in effect.
Yeah, no shit. That's why the Supreme Court determined that was racist. It was voter ID that was being attempted to have been passed in South Carolina. That's what you're referring to. And yes, those laws were shot down. So technically, it's not even a good example because that was shot down, right? Are you saying that every single state then that requires voter ID in some form or another is racist?
Oh.
Okay, so then not all voter ID.
That you can.
What? So then that. So then you went. So technically, you gave me. Sorry, that was the state Supreme Court of North Carolina, not South Carolina. But that's policy was shot down. So all voter ID. That. So can you point to a policy that exists? Because that was a policy that got shut down. So what's a policy that exists that's racist? One, just one. I'm sure you talk about systemic racism and injustice all the time. So it should be pretty easy to give me just one.
One example would be the effects of the crime bill that led to, I think, the explosion of like mass incarceration or like the war on drugs, other policies like that.
So the crime bill was racist? Why?
Because if it disproportionately impacted communities of color negatively.
Were communities of color disproportionately participating in crime?
Well, I guess that's the tricky.
It's not tricky at all. It's a super easy yes or no question. Were communities of color disproportionately involved in crime? Because if so, then if they're disproportionately policed or they're disproportionately affected by the crime bill, that kind of makes sense. That's what you'd expect to see. That's not racist either.
It's kind of like how I think white people and black people use drugs at the same rate, right? I think marijuana specifically.
That was one study that was the reported use of marijuana. Sure.
Right. Okay.
That's one study with one thing. Sure. But it doesn't matter. Even if all else was equal, we'd still expect to see communities of color policed more often or communities of color having more people arrested because they commit more crime.
This is like, we definitely disagree on this part.
No. Hold on. We don't disagree. I'm just not acting like a retard. retard. I'm never gonna tell you this. You're using the conservative argument of like, well, if there's racism, you gotta show me the law. I would never say something that stupid. But you're telling me, if you want to tell me that things have gone too far on college campus, you need to show me the policy. How stupid. I'm not going to be able to show you a policy that says we hate white people. That's not how it works. A lot of people right now are fighting against this, is it DE? It's like diversity, DIE, diversity, inclusion, and equity or whatever. A lot of these types of policies, I think some of them have actually been shot down by the courts across campuses across the entire United States. But I'm not going to be able to show you in the writings, we hate white people. I can't show you that. That's such a first grader engagement with the problem though. The same way that when a conservative says, show me the law that says we arrest more black people. I can't show you that. It's going to require a more complicated conversation, of course. It's DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yes.
I know, I feel like I'm trying to have the complicated conversation.
No, you're not, because you're asking me.
Like, no, you want it to be as simple as like, you know, like language within a policy. But I was saying, if you can point to a policy that had the effect, like a chilling effect on students or something like that.
Yeah, the chilling effect is going to be probably all the language and all of the diversity, inclusion, diversity, equity, inclusion shit all over every college campus. Jesus, what was the one that we read? I don't remember the school, but it had to do with the anthropology department. But I'm going to spitball this, and I'm guessing you'll probably find this at most college campuses now. Usually in their overall goal for the school, they'll say something like that one of the most important missions in all of our classroom is to make sure that everything we teach has the inclusion and the diversity of our students is the number one priority, and blah, 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 blah. We read it with some like anthropology department that got destroyed because of like the pushing of this type of narrative. I mean, so I can show you those diversity, what is it? Diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI? I can show you like these types of things that are being written in college campuses all across the country. But my guess is you're probably going to say, well, that's not actually bad on its face, is it? And you're just going to make me read the text. I'm going to agree. Of course, by the text, it doesn't look that bad. But the way that it ends up enacted is it becomes, again, what I said, this progressive orthodoxy that's used to assassinate every professor that doesn't toe the progressive line 100%.
That's what I was saying, or like asking for in the debate, is that not necessarily a policy that, again, like, no, it's never going to be as cut and dry and transparently constitutional, or I guess like going too far in this case, right? The policy that says that, like, we are going to do X thing, Y thing, it's going to end up being that way in effect. And that can be easily demonstrated or like proved.
Okay, well then I'll just point to the fact that those things exist. So does that mean I win or what?
No, well, like my counterexample is like, so would you say that if you ask like the majority of Republican legislatures or like senators or whatever, like, will you be willing to make the statement that like wokeism has like gone too far?
If I ask who this?
If you ask like any Republican senator or legislature, like, do you think wokeism has gone too far? You think they would answer in the affirmative, right?
All of them would, of course. Yeah, of course.
Wokeism has gone too far.
Yeah,
they agree. They've literally put forward, again, legislative efforts to combat this like spread of wokeism.
Okay.
In the example of like the 1776 project, where they're commissioning people like Charlie Kirk, who are not even like historians or whatever, to construct curriculum in opposition to things like the 1619 project.
Sure, but there's a lot of Democrats that would say wokeism has gone too far too. But what's the point you make? Literally fucking Barack Obama has come out and said that it's too far.
Wait, where?
Hold on. Somebody can find this, but I'm pretty sure it was literally like last month. Was it on Pod Save America? And he did it in 2019 as well, but Pod Save America.
I wouldn't be surprised if he said it, and I like want to know like what evidence he would bring to the table to support his claim that wokeism has gone too far. Like, what in President Obama's opinion is making him say that like wokeism has gone too far?
During a podcast interview, former President Barack Obama criticized the Democratic Party for being too easily offended. CNN reports that Obama said that members of his party can sometimes be a quote-unquote buzzkill. Obama recently went on the Pod Save America podcast and discussed how Democrats have appeared to be scolding on social issues instead of spreading a message of equality, per the New York Post. Sometimes, this is a quote, sometimes people just want to not feel as if they are walking on eggshells, and they want some acknowledgement that life is messy and that all of us at any given moment can say things the wrong way or make mistakes, end quote.
Yeah, but do you think it's possible to give that opinion without following it up with therefore wokeism has gone too far.
No, he didn't say those words exactly, so I guess not. I knew this was going to happen. I should have just said, I know, I should have said that. He didn't explicitly say wokeism, so you win. Yeah. What's the next part you want to argue about?
I mean, I don't know. Are you up for any other arguments?
Nope. I think that's it. I think everything is fine. I can't point to you in a letter of the law. But then you also conceded to me that there are no systemic inequalities in the United States because you haven't been able to point to me to a single law that supports any of your arguments either. So I guess we can just live in the conservative.
War on drugs, the difference between
the war on drugs is not racist. There's nothing racist about that. What do you mean? There's no policy that says arrest more black people than white people?
The sentencing disparities between the types of drugs that were typically used by poor black Americans versus the sentencing that was...
Why would the sentencing disparities exist?
What do you mean?
I'm asking you. Why did the sentencing disparities exist?
Because of the way that the language in the legislature and
but why do you think they were targeting some drugs over other drugs? In the 90s, were there neighborhoods being destroyed by powder cocaine?
No, I'm talking earlier. Like the sentencing disparity between like crack cocaine versus using
what do you think I just said?
methamphetamine or stuff like that.
What was destroying neighborhoods?
In the 90s, or
in the 90s,
about like the war on drugs that started much earlier?
In the 90s, in 1994, the crime bill that you cited, what was destroying neighborhoods?
Crack cocaine, right?
So, does it not make sense that that's probably what's being targeted?
But you can target it without having like punitive measures. It's like I would disagree with those punitive criminal justice policies.
That's great that you would, but the entire country at the time disagreed with you. So.
Okay, but like I won't disagree with that. Like I disagree.
Okay, cool.
Like,
and there was nothing racist written into any of those laws. They were targeting the drugs.
Something can be racist in effect.
Nope.
Right?
No. Sorry. Nope. You have to show me that. You didn't demonstrate a policy.
You see a sentencing disparity.
Okay. You have to show me a policy. Show me the policy that says judges have to sentence black people at higher crime rates or at higher prison terms.
It's not just about the policy. I also,
it is just about the policy. If Obama wasn't talking about wokeism there because he didn't use the word wokeism, then yeah, you have to show me the policy. If you can't show me the policy, then you've got nothing.
I think you misunderstand my argument from the first debate, though.
No, I know the argument. The argument is you don't want to cede any ground whatsoever because you're ideologically bought into this particular position. So you're going to fight on the dumbest points ever. Like saying, well, Obama didn't technically say wokeism when he said that we need to be careful about walking on eggshells because we're scolding people over social issues. Every individual listening goes, oh, obviously he's talking about wokeism. But you're like, well, did he actually say the word wokeism? And you're like, oh, well, I win the argument. No, of course not.
Because wokeism, again, is like I said in the debate, it's anything I don't like because nobody ever wants to actually pinpoint down, like, what are we considering to be wokeism gone too far?
In the conversation with Obama, it was people feeling like they have to walk on eggshells everywhere because they're going to get character assassinated for saying something stupid one time.
Right. Is that your definition, though? That's not the definition that you.
That's what Obama was clearly taught. I don't. Okay.
So Obama, but we're trying. If we're like rehashing a debate that we had or whatever, that's not what you said.
Okay. What is racism?
There's a lot of different definitions. Do you think I'm just going to give the power plus prejudice one?
No, I wasn't even going there. I'm just showing you how like unimaginably uncharitable like you are in this conversation because you're so desperate to like etch out a W. Another quote from Obama in that podcast. If I tweet or hashtag about how you didn't do something right or use the wrong verb, then I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself because, man, did you see how woke I was? I called you out. There's another quote from him on the podcast. Now he said woke instead of wokism.
Nice. But were you genuinely asking me like what racism is?
No, you're trying to pin me down on these unbelievably strict definitions of things. That's like obviously like
not strict, but something that's like agreed upon. Because I feel like when Republicans say wokeism has gone too far, that means something very different than when if
I'm not a Republican saying that.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Then why do we care about a Republican? We're just talking about me. You're talking to me right now, and I'm telling you my definition, and then we're arguing over whether that has or has not gone too far. That's what the conversation is about. I don't know why you care about what Republicans think.
Because just even though I don't like this, I have to exist in a society that has tons of Republicans.
Sure, but we're not talking to Republicans right now. You're talking to me.
Right, I know, but like you can't play private language games. Like it's untenable for you to have a specific definition of like wokeism and then a Republican.
Wait, what is like, private language? What do you think private language means?
That language at this point is like flying around in a vacuum where you're playing fast and loose and just making up the definitions as you see fit.
Okay, private language does not mean that I discuss with you a concept and then we agree and share upon a particular thing. When Wittgenstein said private language, he's referring to using a word that only means something to you and not to anybody else. I'm very clearly telling you, I'm trying to use a word to explain a concept and we're agreeing on what that concept is. I'm not just uttering random words and then, saying like, oh, well, this is my own word. We're not talking private language at all. We're like, very clearly things like wokeism and racism, whatever, all have a million different definitions. I gave you my definition of wokeism. I narrowed in on it, and then I'm giving you examples. One was the Evergreen College situation, which you seem to agree. Another one was a quote by Obama, which you seem to agree. And all of these comport with my definition of wokeism, which was the enforcement of this progressive orthodoxy that seems to expel members that don't play 100% by the rules. In the Evergreen case, it was Brett getting kicked out of the school, well, not kicked out of the school, but it was Brett feeling culturally pressured out of the school. I know you really want to hold on to that because President Sunday drilled that into your fucking head, even though it means nothing,
it's true,
right?
Though.
But it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the point.
Why did you bring it up?
It's irrelevant to the point. If we're
why'd you bring it up?
You're just ignoring everything. This is your. The thing that irritates me the most is that people like you and President Sunday give people like me such a bad reputation because you guys are the debate bros. You understand what you're doing? Like you're voshing right now, but you're looking for like one little thing. Like, whoa, hold on, Brett wasn't technically fucking kicked out of the school, and then you're trying to like, oh, that's everything, right? You're completely glossing over the fact that there was a huge protest that you already conceded to and agreed was totally disproportionate to him disagreeing with a day of absence where they were telling white people to leave the fucking school, right? You agreed on all of that. That's a huge problem, 100%. And then same thing with Obama, literally saying like, yeah, we're woke scolding people way too far.
You think
like
that's a ridiculous standard?
What is a ridiculous standard?
If you bring up certain points and I disagree with it, I want to be like, hey, just so you know, I disagreed with that, but continue. And
you're sure like, you can know what you really wanted to edge that point out, but it's not relevant to the point that I'm making. But fine, I understand you disagree with that, but that's fine.
But but why do you bring it up if it's not relevant?
Okay, so I misspoke. But it doesn't change my point at all. The point is that the wokeism has gone too far, seems to be a shared upon agreement that we have, which makes it by definition not a private language. And I'm giving you examples that you also seem to agree exist. So I feel like I've made a thesis and I've supported with arguments. You seem to agree with the arguments, but you reject the thesis because now you want to go and redefine the word in the thesis.
I agreed with certain parts of it.
Okay, what have I said that you disagree with?
Like the racism thing. Okay.
What racism thing?
You were asking me like define racism, right?
What I asked, that's not a thing. I'm asking you a question. What are we disagreeing on? What?
Because why did you ask me to define racism?
Because you asked me to define something else, and I was just showing you how silly it was to ask.
What was the something else that I asked you to define?
I don't remember.
I asked you to define wokeism.
Okay, I don't remember that far back in the conversation because try to keep your.
Well, I asked you to define wokeism. Somebody can go check the VOD.
Okay, sure. My definition of wokeism, I think I gave it to you at the start of that speech, and I think I've given it to you here again. Is the steadfast adherence to a progressive orthodoxy that expels members that don't play by the rules. But
when I give you a definition of racism, I'm not going to say I'm giving you my definition of racism. Like there's multiple dictionaries and academic texts that I could cite that have definitions of racism that would be accepted. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to like wokeism, which is this new concept that I'm also trying to understand or whatever because people play fast and loose with the term, where I'm trying to pin down what exactly do people mean.
I just told you what I meant. Hold on. What did I just say that you didn't understand when I gave you my definition?
I felt like you were saying it's the same as like cancel culture or whatever. And if it's like
is that what I said?
Debate,
I'm going to say it for the seventh time. When I talk about wokeism has gone too far, I am talking about progressives enforcing an orthodox opinion that requires of them to expel everybody that doesn't 100% play by those rules. Do I need to say it for an eighth time? I'm not talking about cancel culture or I don't know whatever else you're going to bring up again. You're going to do it again. I don't know why you're doing this, but I've given you, that's my definition.
Only happened because we were like reviewing the debate, right?
Okay, sure. Okay, well, that's my definition. I'm pretty sure that's the same one that I gave in the debate.
The exact thing that you said in the debate. You want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay. You said, obviously, wokeness has gone too far because progressives are really bad at engaging other people in conversation topics, like you said now. I think that there's way too much of a ideological orthodoxy that's like enforced around any area that progressives get their hand on. Later, I said, can you concretely define wokeness?
Okay, that sounds pretty similar to what I just said.
Started off by introducing the paradox of tolerance, And then you said, through that argument of the paradox of tolerance, progressives have essentially created the system that allows them to get rid of all dissenting opinion because the dissenting opinions themselves represent like a threat to discourse or democracy or woke values or whatever. That's like the specific thing I'm kind of like pointing at. I started the conversation yesterday by saying like your definition of woke literally included the term like woke values, and I'm like, you can't use the word woke within your definition of woke.
Yeah, first up, do you not okay, replace woke when I'm defining wokeness and I say woke values, you can in your mind replace woke values with progressive values. Does that make every piece fall into place now? I think 99% of other people would know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, but later in the debate, I was saying like you're presupposing that progressive values entails being like this mob, like part of some mob or whatever that jumps down people's throats for not adhering to the supposed ideological orthodoxy.
But I clearly am not. I'm clearly not presupposing that, because if I was presupposing that, I would say that wokeness is bad. But I'm not saying wokeness is bad. I'm saying wokeness has gone too far. If wokeness necessarily entailed an exclusion of outside opinion, then how could wokeness go too far? Wokeness is just doing what it's supposed to. I would say wokeness is just bad. I don't think it's bad to be woke, because I'm a progressive, but I think that it's gone too far. So clearly I disagree with that.
So like the excesses of social justice, right?
No, it's not even the excesses of social, it's the enforcement of an orthodox opinion that requires the exclusion of everybody else that doesn't 100% agree with you.
If you just said that, like, I felt like if like I'm a passerby and I see that like wokeness has gone too far, and like I could be wrong again, like that's a concession I'll make. I was like reading into that if you're saying wokeness, you're using it pejoratively. Here you're saying like no, there's aspects of wokeness or whatever that are like respectable.
Why would I say, how is wokeness has gone too far using it as a pejorative? The go too far implies that it's not bad it implies that it's not a bad thing.
I feel like, and again, you're not saying this, I'm just going to draw a parallel. That's like if I say racism has gone too far, and then I'm
No, wait, hold on. That doesn't make any sense. No one would say.
But racism is good, actually.
Well, no. You just proved my point. Nobody would say racism has gone too far. They would say racism is bad. All racism is bad.
So I thought that you were saying all wokism is bad.
No, then I would just say wokism is bad, not wokism has gone too far.
I guess I just don't know at what point you're saying like this is too far.
I just told you. It's when progressives are enforcing an orthodox opinion where they have the ability to expel and exclude everybody that doesn't 100% play by the rules, like in the Evergreen College example.
You're talking about like college students, right? And people on the internet, right?
Well, it used to be just college students, people on the internet, but now it's also including faculty and staff. And like the school administration.
And staff. Progressives are not like overrepresented in our government, right? You know,
we're not talking about the government. We're talking about colleges.
Oh, but you didn't say wokeness has gone too far on college campuses, because I said if that specific topic was the case, I probably wouldn't have even freaking sat down.
Then why were you so eager to argue about Brett Weinstein? Why didn't you just say, oh, I don't care about colleges? You want to pivot away from colleges now because you've lost an argument. Obviously, it hasn't gone too...
I had to argue about Brett Weinstein because it was your first line of defense for defending your thesis.
But you could have just said, hold on, I don't care about wokeism in colleges. I want to talk about wokeism in the government. You can't argue that point, then lose that argument, and then say, well, actually, I don't care about...
Well, like the flow of the conversation was that I asked for an example, and again, I regret not using the word, what is your evidence? And then we start litigating that anecdote for a little bit. And then I said, okay, but like, you have one example. I don't know that that's enough to establish a trend. Can you point to like...
Yeah, and then I brought up a couple other examples. I brought up the Oberlin School. I brought up the Washington University trans study thing, like...
No, and that point in the debate was like incoherent.
Which part do you think is incoherent?
Can I read it out to you?
Go for it.
Let me find it. Okay. You said, the thing that I said right before is you find like an example of wokeness or something like this that's been instituted at even a municipal level or possibly state or federal. And I just don't think it's ever met that threshold. And I think that alone kind of negates your entire premise that it's gone too far, because we would see it happening in Congress, happening in state legislatures, happening, well, Congress is federal, or at the Supreme Court, because because wokeness has gone amok. We must make these corrective policy measures that could potentially, do more harm than good. And I guess that's mostly what I'm worried about, like the policy implications of saying, like, okay, even if wokeness has gone too far, fine. Like, for the sake of the argument, I'll concede. Like, it has gone too far. What do we do about it? And you said, cut the VOD there. Okay. Oh, did you ask me what I do about? Oh, I said I'd give you the last word. Well, I understand that it's not there, like in policy positions, but in schools and in the response to what's happening in schools, it does seem to be there. Now, for whatever reason, progressives are really bad at getting people elected and getting their will enacted in Congress. But I think across like college campuses, like when you look at like, man, what was the last poll I saw? Like the ideological leanings of like professors and stuff, it's like fucking like 85% left. And like even some of the econ departments, I don't know if it's true here for University of Texas. And then I asked you, like, is it a problem that we have like a partisan bias within academia?
Okay, what's your problem with any of what I've said here?
Because you were saying, like, I understand it's not there in policy positions, and then you even say that progressives are bad at getting people elected. So, like, you're even saying that progressives don't represent any majority part of
the government. Yes,
Congress.
I don't disagree with that. That's never been my argument.
Yeah, then why was the subject, like, has wokeness gone too far? And it should have been, like, wokeness has gone too far on college campuses or whatever.
Because can things go too far outside of the government?
Of course.
Okay. Well, then the argument right now, the examples that I gave had to do with college campuses. I think it was 2 that had to do with colleges, and a third one had to do with research.
Right.
So,
and like 3 discrete data points. That's it.
How many do I need for you? Because I can find like 20 more, but I'm just curious, how many would make you feel good enough? There was a story of a New York Times editor guy that 4-page story. I highly recommend reading it. He used to do trips with children where he would have conversations with them. After one of these trips, he got fired because some of the students were too woke and he got pissed off. Or no, he didn't get pissed off. They got pissed off because of a conversation that he had with them that was somewhat challenging, and he got fired for it because students were uncomfortable after the conversation. After he'd done, like, I think a few of these trips successfully already.
Like if you want to ask me something that's gone too far, I think it's even funny because I think you cited like this something to do with the study about like trans youth and stuff like that out of the University of Washington, right?
Yep, that was one of them. Yeah.
Okay, well, in the 50s, and the University of Washington had like a really controversial decision where they actually fired tenured professors because allegedly they were like communists. If I saw stuff like that happening, again, people like professors being put on trial or whatever for things that they're doing outside of the workplace, for ideological sympathies and stuff like that, then yeah, I would definitely concede to you, like, okay, this has gone too far.
So if I show you like a professor getting fired because he didn't like play ball with the progressive talking points, then you would.
Brett Weinstein wasn't fired. We agreed on this.
I didn't say Brett. First of all, he was more or less pushed out. He didn't feel safe working there, or didn't want to work.
Okay, but I think it's a meaningful distinction. I don't think that
you can say it's a meaningful distinction, but okay. Does anybody have? I don't have every single example. What was the one that we read about the anthropology department that was claiming that a certain professor was racist because of the way that he wanted to present his material? Does anybody remember which what we talked about for here? We read this one about Ilya Shapiro, who left, but she's going to say this one doesn't count because even though his whole school was like shitting on whatever, he decided to leave afterwards. Although you would never use this argument. Like, if you made the argument that racism is running amok in schools, and then you were to show me, well, look at all these black professors that are quitting because they feel uncomfortable, and I say, well, they weren't fired, you would never accept that argument. So I'm playing by
in the debate. You said like if you get bucked by the system, and I literally said, "Can I stop you? What do you mean by bucked by the system?"
As in, there's a heavy amount of like social and cultural pressure to get somebody out of a position. But you're gonna tell me like yesterday, you're like, well, that's not real, which I don't even know. Like,
I don't disagree. Social pressure absolutely is real.
I'm trying to think of the... Oh, this was the anthropology one. This guy wrote a whole thing on him.
And like tenured professors like getting fired by faculty and admin, like, yeah, that is scary to me.
But you're taking the retard approach of like, show me where they said you are fired. But if it's like professor saying, I'm leaving because like the culture is becoming toxic, you're like, oh, that's okay as long as they weren't fired. Like, it's the dumbest possible engagement with the topic. Well, it's not even dumb, it's bad faith because you don't believe it. I know you don't believe that. Because again, if I were to show you all of these universities where like this professor left because every student called him the N-word, and you're like, this is bullshit, it's evidence of racism run amok, and I go, well, was he fired? You'd go, well, no, he wasn't fucking fired, but obviously the culture was insanely toxic and he quit as a result of that. Seems pretty racist. And then I go, well, if he wasn't fired for being black, you're wrong. Like, it's an unimaginable engagement with the topic.
If you're saying that like, oh, you wouldn't accept that as an answer because you're all about like the policy, bro, you're all about like the racist
no, you just wouldn't
stuff like that in the criminal justice system, then I would be like, okay, so even if I'm not going to say in that example that like, oh, it's gone too far, I would never use that to prop up my argument. I would use other policies and stuff like that from the government to
you don't need, it's not about policies, especially at college campuses. Sometimes it's about culture.
It's like, do you know who Barry Weiss is?
Yes. What about him?
He's a journalist. Not only, actually, she wrote the op-ed for, it's called like Why the Left Eats It, something like that, or Eats Its Own, or something.
Yeah, I feel like I read this a long time ago, but yeah,
in the New York Times. Barry Weiss claimed to be canceled, but she resigned from the New York Times. And she said that she felt like she was forced out. Or again, like not adhering to this. But don't you think that it's like disingenuous to say like, I'm being canceled, and then you look and investigate and it's like, but girl, you're like resigning.
No. I don't think you believe this. I don't think you're arguing what you believe. I think that you have your like ideological side and you're just like throwing whatever you can at the wall. There's no way that you believe this. I've talked to you enough to know, I know you're not this fucking stupid. Like, it's just like, there's no way that you believe that.
Thank you.
I know you, like, I know you don't, but like.
I know I'm not that stupid because
Ideologically, it's just because you agree. Okay, so let me give you the example then. Let's say this, okay? Black professor says that he feels uncomfortable and he feels like he's being pushed out of the school by racist people. You find out that students regularly call him the N-word. You find out that half the staff is belonging to like a KKK group. And the guy's like, I feel pushed out, and the guy quits. Would you say that, well, he wasn't fired, so it's not a big deal? What would you say to that?
I would just say that like that's an example of racism going too far, because if you have a group of students that are actively hostile and racist towards a professor, an employee, a member of staff, and school administration fails to punish those students in any way, academically sanction them, expel them potentially.
Okay, that's great. Then just replace racism is going too far with wokeism is going too far. If students are too like viciously boycotting or protesting professors because they don't want to play ball with a progressive orthodoxy, and eventually those professors leave because the staff are starting to play ball with the kids. Arguably, this is what happened with the Oberlin thing, where the students were all saying, oh my God, that bakery's racist because they held that black guy that was stealing from them. And the university faculty and staff joined in saying, yeah, you're right. And now they got slapped with like a $32 million defamation suit that they lost. Then, I mean, yeah, it seems like that is a problem.
The university did protect Brett Weinstein, who's a tenured professor.
It was... What do you mean they protected him? It seemed like it was other aspects of the university faculty and staff that hated the guy.
You dismissed it when I said like they provided him with the security detail.
Oh my God, that's such a fuck.
Students are doing that, and they offered him a $500,000 settlement in the event that he needed to resign, which he took and he chose to do. But they also said you're free to retain your professorship.
Okay. I don't think I can't. I don't know what else to do. I don't think you're being honest in the conversation. So I don't know what to do. We either need to get high and have this, or you need to drink. We need to get drunk. You are so unbelievably bad faith. And I don't use that word often. Like, you are fighting on points because you know that ideologically you align with them. But like, put through the ringer, you would never, ever, ever be this, like, you would never accept, you just never accept it.
Of how fucking stubborn I can be. If you think
it's not about being stubborn. It's about being bad. I'm stubborn. But it's about being bad faith. I'm stubborn, but if somebody were to sit here and say, like, 1 + 1 = 2, and I would go, well, that depends. Did Jordan Peterson say 1 + 1 = 2? Because if so, I disagree. I would never do that.
I'm so fucking stubborn. I'm so fucking petty. I'm so fucking stubborn. Like, when Michelle Obama said, they go low, we go high. No. If people go low, I go lower. I promise you.
Okay, but that has nothing to do with being petty or stubborn. That's just being an asshole, okay? I don't know what stubborn means to you. That's a private language meme.
Can you shut up? All right, I'll concede that point. I think I did fuck up Wittgenstein or whatever.
That's fine. That's okay.
Right?
We all have our Beatles in our boxes, okay?
What's that? I never heard that before.
Isn't that the example that fucking loser gives? If a whole bunch of people on an island and they have a beetle in a box and they all walk around and nobody looks in each other's boxes, but they all refer to the beetle with a particular term, but nobody actually knows what it means. That's like the example of a private language. Am I making this up? I might be wrong. I don't know.
You're making it up. You're a fucking liar. Stop spreading this information. You don't know what you're talking about. You're bad faith.
Okay, gotcha. Based. Make sure to go to do a debate review on this one with President Sunday. I'm sure it'll help you.
If somebody wants to link me a clip where where I co-signed any of the things that he was saying about you when he tried to imply that you were bad faith, and I said, no, I don't think that's bad faith. I think Steven and I were talking past each other. I would love to see it.
Okay.
You didn't have it. You were just saying you're talking shit with him, but I don't think discussing the debate with him rises to talking shit.
I listened to a lot of it last night and I was like, okay, but
Destiny, it's Destiny. If I talk shit, I will walk it back. I will apologize if I hurt your feelings. All right.
Thank you so much, Queen. That's what I needed to hear. Okay. I was.
No,
crying.
you did. That's why I just said it. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm watching out. I'm looking out for you.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
I'm always there for you.
Thank you.
Okay. No, I'm from the burbs, but I respect the streets and all that. Okay.
Thank you so much. As somebody that comes from the streets, okay, that's important to me. Okay.
I know. Okay. It just gets a little out of hand. Too spicy Latinas. Okay.
Well, that's what happens.
You have your woman's name. I have my boy's name. Okay.
Yep.
There were a lot of people saying AA Ron.
True.
Right?
When wokism goes too far, this is what happens.
The ironic misogyny. If I see anybody else say it's spelled AA Ron, I'm actually gonna call that a hate crime. Okay.
Based. Okay.
Right.
All right. Have fun. Be careful. Okay.
Too. Bye.
Bye.